Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Jamaica News in Review. Policewoman accused of being lottery scamming mastermind arrested in U.S. A female police constable is in custody in the United States on allegations of being the mastermind of a lottery scamming group operating in Jamaica and America. Shelly-Ann Cherine Allen was arrested on Friday. The group is being accused of defrauding over 20 elderly Americans of approximately US $1.69 million. It is being alleged that over US $128,000 of the sum was directly sent to the policewoman's account. An indictment obtained by reporters indicated that Allen and other known and unknown persons conspired to commit fraud by wire and conspiracy to commit fraud by mail in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1341, 1343, and 1349. Reporters understand that Allen was arrested by the investigators of the Border Control and Protection Division and that she has been under observation since 2019. Investigators say the policewoman conspired with others to devise and carry out a telemarketing and mass marketing scheme that targeted vulnerable victims in order to defraud and to obtain money by means of materially false and fraudulent precedents, representations, and promises. The probe has been dubbed the Allen Lottery Scheme Organization by U.S. law enforcement. It is reported that Department of Homeland Security database indicated that Allen entered the U.S. from Jamaica 9 times between January 2019 and September 2021. The investigators reported the trace transaction to Allen's U.S. bank account. Additionally, it is further been alleged that records indicated that there were 24 purchases of various retailers in Florida, including Gap Hotel, Marshalls, Marcy Foot Lockers, Old Navy, Elegance Perfume, Polo, Ralph Lauren, and Victoria's Secret for a total amount of US $2,440.43. It is also been alleged that the total amount withdrawal from the account from those transactions was $5,004.01. Reporters understand that law enforcement has identified 6 alleged co-conspirators said to be part of Allen's scheme. When contacted by a reporter, Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of crime Fitz Bailey confirmed Allen's arrest. Bailey, however, declined to say whether she was on the radar of the police in Jamaica or if any other member of the constabulary force has been linked to the scheme. A police source reported that Allen's arrest has left persons disappointed. She was attached to the St. Andrew North Police Division. Butchered. Community in shock as 24-year-old suspected of slaying parents in grisly attack. When crashing sounds jarred some residents of Christian Meadows in Portmore, St. Catherine out of their sleep about 4:30 a.m., they could not fathom the ghastly reality that would greet them after 2 members of their community were slaughtered in the dead of night, allegedly at the hands of their 24-year-old son. 55-year-old Minister of Religion Cecil Ramsey and his 55-year-old wife Phyllis, the acting vice principal of St. Andrew Preparatory School, were both laying dead inside their blood-soaked Aristide Avenue family home. "I'm very surprised. It shocked the whole community," said one resident, as shocked community members gathered outside the home trying to make sense of the killing. "When I look on the phone, it was 4:38 a.m. He, the suspect, is the one that drove and crashed in the gate, and he is not a driver. Him crashed around there and rode out a tree, then drove to Phoenix Scheme where he crashed again," the woman said. The police reported that they received a call and went to Phoenix Park in Portmore and spoke with security guards about a Toyota Axio motor car registered to Phyllis that was abandoned in the community. Bloodstains were observed inside upon closer examination, and the couple's son, who is suspected to have committed the act, was later apprehended after being found wandering inside the community. According to the police, during an initial interview, he admitted that he had stabbed and killed his parents. He was then escorted to the home where the bodies of the parents and the suspected murder weapon were found inside. Christian Meadows Citizens Association President Sonia Morgan, an immediate neighbor to the Ramseys, said that she had been observing when she now deemed to be unusual behavior in the suspect for as far back as September last year, when he began to withdraw himself. He withdrew from social media completely, put down his smartphone, and bought a banger so that it would be just communication and contact with family. He would exercise by running around the block and other young people, such as my son and my cousin, and he stopped, Morgan said. He is a GC Foster College student, nearing final year, doing very well, very popular on campus, she added, noting that in the community setting, he was not a loud here, there, and everywhere person. Describing the young man as the baby of the Ramsey family, warm, soft, and loved by all, Morgan said that she knew he was a teaching assistant. She said, however, unsure whether he was still teaching. He withdrew, then he started to speak strangely, like he doesn't have to study past exams anymore, saying, the Lord will just let the information come to him, and that type of thing, she said. You hear these things on the news, and you hear people saying, I don't understand. He was a decent boy, and people would get skeptical and say, yeah man, always a decent boy. But in this case he was, Morgan said. Another resident reported that the Ramseys were very close-knit and insular as a family. But we understand because it was the parents who are like that and made their children like that. They don't go to the gate and stand up and talk to people. They don't go over to people's house, the resident said. When reporters visited the St. Andrew Preparatory School, the administrative staff was receiving grief counseling. We are just now in a session with the chaplain. I wouldn't be able to pull the principal out, a teary-eyed staff member said. The school security guard was also feeling down. Me no think them can talk, you know, she said. Me weak like a rat. Up to late yesterday evening, the suspect, who remained in custody, has not yet been charged. No motive for murder of woman found dead in Linstead cane field. Police investigators are seeking to establish a motive for the murder of a woman whose body was found with stab wounds in a cane field in Cheesefield, Linstead, St. Catherine yesterday. She has been identified as 44-year-old Nicola Sittle, who is from the community. The discovery was made by cane cutters who raised an alarm. The police were called to the scene. The police say the woman's face was bashed and her body had multiple stab wounds. Investigators theorized that the woman had put up a fight with her attacker and that she may have been killed elsewhere and her body dumped in the cane field. The discovery has left residents shocked. Jezariah Tyrrell murder accused remanded. The Kingston laborer charged for the murder of 10-year-old Jezariah Tyrrell has been remanded for a bail application on February 25th in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court. The 22-year-old accused, Tommy Powell, otherwise called Redhead, of a James Street address, was remanded when he appeared in court on Wednesday, and an order was made for the prosecution to make full disclosure to his attorney at law, DeVarna Wilson. Powell is facing shooting with intent, illegal possession of firearm, and murder charges. Tyrrell was shot dead at her home in Wildman Street, Kingston, on Thursday, December 30, 2021. Reports from the Kingston Central Police are that about 2:50 a.m., Sarah and her relatives were asleep at home when a relative reportedly smelled gasoline and heard strange sounds on the roof. He went to investigate and was pounced upon by intruders who attempted to gain entry into the house while firing at the occupants. When the gunfire subsided, it was discovered that Jezariah was shot. She was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. Following an investigation, Paul was arrested and charged. 2 charged for murder of man in Central Village. The police in St. Catherine have charged 2 men for the March 2021 shooting death of Uriel Pinnock in Central Village in the parish. 35-year-old Kemar Hardin, otherwise called Stammer, a farmer of Old Harbour Road in Spanish Town, and 20-year-old Dominic Diner, otherwise called Swims of Central Village, have been charged with murder and illegal possession of firearm. It is alleged that about 9:35 p.m. on Friday, March 26, 2021, Pinnock was standing outside his gate when Hardin and Diner and other men opened gunfire at him, hitting him to the head. Pinnock was pronounced dead upon arrival at hospital. The police say, after months of following leads, Hardin and Diner were arrested on January 28, 2022. They were subsequently charged after a question and answer session. Their court date is being arranged. Booster dose of AstraZeneca vaccine now available. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is advising that all eligible members of the public will be provided booster doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine effective Monday, February 7. The move will allow Jamaicans 18 years and older to receive a booster dose of AstraZeneca once they are fully vaccinated. Booster doses can be administered to persons who have taken AstraZeneca and or 6 months after their second dose, persons who have taken a Pfizer vaccine and are now 6 months after their second dose, and persons who have taken Sinopharm and are after 6 months after their second dose. To receive a booster dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, members of the public should visit any of the ministry access points for vaccination. Persons are asked to take their vaccination card and a government-issued identification or letter from a justice of the peace. Meanwhile, effective Monday, February 7, Jamaica will offer AstraZeneca Johnson & Johnson vaccine 28 days or later to persons who receive the Moderna vaccine as the first dose in their primary series. Additionally, persons who receive the Sinopharm vaccine or a first dose can be offered AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson or Pfizer as a second dose 28 days after their first dose. Persons who received AstraZeneca as their first dose may also be offered Pfizer as a second dose 8 to 12 weeks after the first. Once persons have received 2 mixed doses, they will be classified as fully vaccinated. Former Olympic Gardens Police Station building earmarked for housing development. The building previously served as the Olympic Gardens Police Station in St. Andrew, West Central, is to be transformed to provide housing solutions. This is in keeping with the government's thrust to further boost Jamaica's housing stock. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the disclosure during a tour of the structure on Friday. Holness, who is a member of Parliament for the constituency, said the building, which has been situated at the Bayform Villas housing scheme block for over 40 years, was showing significant deterioration, for which overuse as a police station, noting it wasn't built for that purpose. He indicated that the building will be renovated, with the works to include electrical, plumbing and general infrastructure upgrades. He advised that the project will be financed through the West Central St. Andrew Trust and spearheaded by the Ministry of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment and Climate Change, and the National Land Agency. They would have control over this to allow the trust to upgrade it, refurbish it, and, through a certain mechanism, make it available to beneficiaries in the constituency, he further pointed out. Holness also disclosed that 1 unit will be retained to be used as a shelter for the police. We note that there are many police officers who have to travel long distances and aren't able to find places to rent close to the station they work. Indeed, some of them work overtime and they will need a location where they can stay, he said. Additionally, another unit will be used as a community center for the residents of Bayform Villas. The rest we will use to relocate persons from other areas in the constituency where other housing projects are going to be built, which is always a challenge. When we have to build on irregular settled land, the people who are there often have no place to reside, and it becomes a real challenge, Holness disclosed. With these 5 units that we will retain, we will be able to take some families off the existing plots that we intend to develop them, return them, and move to another set, the Prime Minister further added. Holness said the project forms part of the government's commitment to provide 70,000 new housing solutions. Some will be provided through a market mechanism, some will be provided by subsidy or through public means. Some will be provided through charitable and private means such as this, and some will be provided as free housing for persons who are justified as beneficiaries, he indicated. Double murder at Coronation Market in downtown Kingston. The Major Investigation Division, MID, is investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting death of 2 men at Coronation Market on Darling Street in Kingston on Saturday, February 5th. Dead are 50-year-old Carlton Armstrong, a shopkeeper of Bond Street, Kingston 14, and 21-year-old Orlando Turner of Freeman's Hall in Alberton, Trelawney. Reports from the police are that about 12:30 a.m., both men were inside a business establishment in the market when they were pounced upon by a group of armed men. The men opened gunfire at Armstrong and Turner, hitting them in the upper body before escaping from the scene. The injured men were taken to hospital, where they were both pronounced dead. Investigations are ongoing into the incident. Devil from the most wanted list surrenders to law enforcers. A man who was listed as one of the most wanted men in St. Catherine South Police Division surrendered to the police last week. Damien Henry, alias Devil, was wanted in connection to the stabbing death of a man on Oscott Drive in Old Harbour, St. Catherine in 2013. He turned himself over to the police in the presence of his attorney on Thursday and is to be questioned by police investigators. The 31-year-old was among the 90 wanted men who were listed by the Police High Command last week. According to head of the St. Catherine South Police, Superintendent Christopher Phillips, 9 other men across the divisions are still wanted. We're happy that he, Henry, decided to do the correct thing. We have 9 other persons who were published recently as being wanted, and we would love for them to do the same thing because we're going to be doing a lot of operations around these persons, Phillips reported. The other men are wanted for various offenses, ranging from murder to illegal possession of firearm. Among them are Sheldon Wright, alias Boy, who is wanted for murder and illegal possession of firearm, and Mario Barnes, alias Jason, who is being sought in relation to a murder. Illegal gun seized in Brufield's operation. The police are reporting the seizure of a Taurus 9mm pistol, fit with a magazine containing 10.4 cartridges, in Brufield's Westmoreland on Saturday. It is reported that about 6 a.m., a police team conducted an operation in the community where a premises was searched and the weapon found in bushes. No one was arrested in connection to the seizure. Investigations are ongoing. Opposition leader supports Operation Get Every Illegal Gun program. Opposition leader Mark Golding has pledged support for the Operation Get Every Illegal Gun program. Under the initiative, which was announced by Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Friday, persons who provide information on illegal guns will receive from $250,000 to $500,000 based on the type of weapon recovered. Golding says the program is a useful national effort which should have the backing of all Jamaicans. This was a program that was initiated in 2015 by the then PNP administration and was met with some success and was subsequently discontinued. We would like to see it revived because we need a program like that is needed to get the guns off the street. We are supporting the program to get information that leads to the recovery of illegal weapons, NK ammunition. The government is setting up a $250 million fund to provide incentives under the Operation Get Every Illegal Gun program. Meanwhile, the opposition leader agrees with the decision to take a new Firearm Act to Parliament. On Friday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said new legislation is to be taken to Parliament in a few days to put in place harsher penalties for gun possession as part of a three-pronged strategy to get illegal guns. 14 charged in St. Mary for breaching DRMA. The Anata Bay Police in St. Mary has charged 14 persons for breaching the Disaster Risk Management Act, DRMA. They were charged with failing to wear a face mask in public and failing to adhere to physical distancing rules. A man was slapped with additional charge of possession of an offensive weapon. The accused are expected to appear before the Anata Bay Parish Court later this month. It is reported that about 1 o'clock, a police team was on an operation in the division when 2 vehicles with several persons aboard were stopped. This was hours after the start of the night COVID curfew, which commenced at 10 p.m. The occupants of both vehicles were arrested and charged for breaching the DRMA. The police are urging residents to adhere to the law. PPV operators urged to help make roads safer. Minister of Transport Audley Shaw has called for operators in the public transport sector to ensure that the system works in the best interest of all road users. Shaw said public passenger vehicle operators are responsible for the country's most precious resource, our citizens, including our children and the elderly. This responsibility must be held with the highest regard, and since the start of the year, an alarming 38 persons have been killed in 32 fatal crashes, with PPV operators and passengers accounting for 3 of those fatalities, said Shaw. He was delivering the keynote address at a certificate membership ceremony organized by the Transport Operators Development Sustainable Service on Thursday, February 3rd at the University of Technology, Jamaica. Underscoring that too many deaths are occurring on the roads, he said the operators must move to be identified among the safest drivers in the country, and the ministry will continue to work with all road safety partners to make the subject a priority. It is the responsibility of each of us, and we seek to have the entire population on our road safety side as we work to ensure that whenever we operate on the road network, we do so for our families and our country first, the Transport Minister said. He added that the country's road safety architecture is being improved to ensure that by 2030, Jamaica will become the road safety capital of the Caribbean and Latin American region. Shaw told the gathering that he was pleased with the new road traffic rules that have been tabled in Parliament and will be working rigorously to ensure that it is enforced to support the desperate need to better regulate the use of the nation's roads. This is one of my priorities, he stated. He highlighted that the Transport Authority has rolled out several digital training, monitoring and enforcement mechanisms, and persons should take advantage of them. He noted that the Drive Safe Jamaica app, a reporting device, allows members of the public to upload videos and pictures of drivers, particularly public transport operators who commit road traffic breaches. Caught in the middle, children, other relatives struggling with traumatic realities in criminals' wake. Hundreds of Jamaican children are being held hostages of gang violence, not only as homicide and trauma victims, but also as innocent onlookers of their guardian's criminal and deadly deeds, noted the state's Child Protection Agency. Up to late Friday afternoon, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, said it was still sorting out permanent accommodation for 2 children who were taken into state care following the seizure of 13 illegal weapons at a house in Trelawney on Thursday. Luckily, the minors who underwent medical examination before being put in the place of safety escaped serious injuries in the early morning operation that resulted in a man dead and their mother being taken into custody. More than 142 children have benefited from first responders care since last April, from 65 incidents up to December. But this is not a reflection of the actual volume of cases island-wide, CEO of CPFSA Rosalie Gage-Gray cautioned, as there are not enough investigators to respond every time the police call. The numbers include response to fires and other crises, but there has been a notable increase in the number of shooting incidents, said the CEO, citing interventions following the shooting death of at least 3 children in central Kingston since October last year. On the ground, the children are very involved, noted Gage-Gray. They may not be directly involved, but they get caught in these things, and it has been very difficult on the first responders. Our reports are mirroring the top crime hotspots. The western parishes of the island have so far accounted for the majority of homicides this year and have been the most challenging for the CPFSA first responders. Children, their friends, parents and relatives are being killed, and responders like the police have to be moving from scene to scene, Gage-Gray shared. Sometimes the children to go into shock at the same time, but then they go into shock later on, and that can become very problematic. She also noted, citing withdrawal, depression, disobedience, and a general breakdown in behavior as manifestations of children's trauma as a result of violence across the country. But while attention is placed on the usual crime hotspots, where the trauma is commonplace and frequent, children in deep rural communities that are seeking an outbreak of gun crimes are often overlooked. The rustic Seaford community in St. Thomas is one such, where life for one 10-year-old girl has been transformed into a hellhole since her brother contractor Clayton Harris, 30, was murdered on January 7. Since then, sleeping in her humble home on Parker's Lane meters, from where her brother was killed at a bar after stopping on his way home from work, has been a nightly torment. She still hears the explosions that ended her brother's life that ill-fate Friday. I see my brother's face everywhere I turn in the house, and I miss him so much, the child said. The joy of the unexpected KC deliveries he brought has been replaced with tearful memories. Now my brother will never get to see me become a veterinarian, she added as tears ran down her cheeks. Harrison's disabled mother Sharna Anthony, said she now lives in fear, and while she believes she can cope without counseling, she is reaching out for help for her youngest child. I have lost my foot. He was really the breadwinner for the family. He was the one that was planning to help me out to buy a prosthetic leg, wept Anthony in reference to her son. I cannot believe it, and his younger sister is taking it worst. So far, police in St. Thomas have only caught one suspect in the relation to the 3 murders in the parish this year. Harrison's killer and those of another man for whom Harrison's killing is believed to have been a reprisal have not yet been found. The police said both men were killed as part of a feud between warring gangsters from Navarre Lane and Blacksmith Lane. Packers Lane has been caught in the middle. We have carried out searches in the Seafort area, and we have been having dialogue with the residents, trying to get them to understand that they need to break that conflict, said Superintendent Alison Byfield, head of the St. Thomas Police Division, noting that since then, the area has been tense. In the meantime, Harrison's mother and relatives are fearful, hoping no one else in their family will be harmed, especially her children, one of whom is a 19-year-old son. He, Harrison, helped a lot of youths, bring them all about to do jobs on construction sites with him, said a relative. There are people who love Pompey Harrison and who take this harder than even we. You don't know what they are planning, and it is us, the family here, who will get the target, even though we have nothing to do with it. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.